Sound, can you hear me? Can those online hear me?
We can now.
Can those online hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, welcome to the Fort Vancouver Regional Library District Board of Trustees meeting. I'm now calling this meeting to order. Our online attendee today is Megan Dugan. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved. Seconded.
Any further discussion? I move this to a roll call vote, please.
Vikram Kawani,
Hi.
Penny Love Hensley,
Aye.
Megan Dugan,
If you want to type your response, Megan, you can do that. We can't hear you.
Marie Coffey,
Aye.
Olga Hodges,
Aye.
Marianne Duncan Cole, and Christy Morgan.
Aye, motion passes. So there are a few housekeeping items today. I wanted to talk about, based on the video from last meeting and some emails that we received, I wanted to clarify the secretary role that was discussed last month. So our bylaws state that the secretary shall assure that a true and accurate record is maintained of all meetings of the board. In the past, the ED had a hand in creating minutes. We are coming back to the bylaws by asking the secretary to just collaborate with the creation of the minutes with the recorder, who right now is Rhonda, to generate an accurate draft of the minutes. This does not mean the secretary takes the minutes. We're not changing anything like that. Only that the person is a set of eyes on them to catch, glaring mistakes on the first draft, smaller mistakes, things like that. They still will come to the public meeting for an open debate, changes, and approvals. So nothing's changing there either. Nothing in the bylaws has changed. It's just being brought back to its intended purpose. This will take timely check-in of email by the secretary and returning them to Rhonda by the requested date. And I know that by going back to our bylaws, Marianne, it's a change in the way we've been doing it, which does impact you in your position. So let me know if this process makes it too cumbersome for you, and we can talk about that later. But I wanted to clarify that for everyone.
I think my only concern is that I'm given a couple of days because I have multiple roles at other trusts, and sometimes they will conflict.
Well, we can talk about that some more later, if that's okay. All right. The second thing is our voting procedure. So again, we're not changing things. Processes tend to kind of drift over time, so we're just bringing it back to where it should be. We are putting the responsibility of abstaining a vote back on the individual board members where it belongs. So this means every trustee will be called on for every roll call vote. And it's your job to abstain where appropriate. So Rhonda or whoever's taking the roll call will not be deciding who abstains. If you aren't there for a meeting, she'll call everyone's name. And if you don't feel like you should be voting, you'll abstain from your vote. So we're bringing it back to us to be responsible for our votes, not someone else. I wanted to thank everyone who participated in our executive director interview process, from admin to employees to the community. We had standing room only in our meet and greet. It was really good turnout. We received a ton of feedback. We've spent a lot of time going over all the forms we received, and we'll have more on that later tonight. And finally, Banned Book Week has come and gone, and I feel like we missed an opportunity with our communications we sent out to the public. We should be celebrating at FVRL that we have not banned books. Justin, can you tell us how many books have been banned since you've been on as ED? That you can never remember? Yeah.
No books have been banned for as long as I can remember.
And how many books has the board asked to be banned, as in removed from the library?
None that I'm aware of.
Thank you. One more point of clarification. How many drag queen story hours are planned for the future?
There are no drag queen story hours planned for the future, Chair Morgan.
Thank you. Hold your applause, please. Thank you. So we are going to move right into public comments. I'm going to keep us moving. We have a big agenda tonight. We'll have 2 minutes each, like always. We'll have 1 hour for public comment. No inappropriate language. Please be respectful. Direct your comments to us. Don't talk out at the audience, please. No playing recordings, and please hold applause and comments between speakers. We'll call up 2 people at a time. We'll have 1 person speaking. Please say your name when you approach the microphone, and then the next person waiting to go.
These are our virtual requests to speak. First up is Janet Hamada.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Janet Hamada and I represent the Next Door, which serves hundreds of people every year in Klickitat and Skamania counties. And I'm going to read a letter really quickly that I submitted to the Board of Directors of the Fort Vancouver Regional Libraries. As members of the Gorge Health Equity Collaborative, we are reaching out to express our support of the library strategic plan, specifically your priority areas, including equity, connections, partnerships, and organizational culture. The Gorge Health Equity Collaborative is a group of over 100 community partners representing local health and social service organizations, along with additional agencies and organizations from other sectors and consultants and individual members. We meet monthly to work toward our mission, which is to convene partners, develop and share resources, and lead organizations towards equity. Our organizations represent people, both employees and clients and patients from all over the Mid-Columbia Gorge, many of whom benefit from the library and your services. We commend Fort Vancouver Regional Libraries prioritizing equity in all aspects of your work, and that you offer welcoming, inclusive opportunities for people to engage with services, resources, and each other. We are grateful for your action items of all staff receiving foundational training in equity and improving how the library provides information in languages that meet the needs of our community. We want you to know that there are many individuals and organizations throughout the Mid-Columbia region, particularly in Klickitat and Skamania counties, and we stand in strong support of the Fort Vancouver Regional Library Strategic Plan 21-24 and ensuring that the Fort Vancouver Regional Libraries does not limit the use of your library nor ban any books. In gratitude for your service to the community, we have 25 people and organizations that signed this letter. I'm only going to read a few of them. The Next Door Incorporated, Washington Gorge Action Programs, or WAGAP, Culture Seed, One Community Health, Southwest Washington Accountable Community of Health, or SWATCH, Adventist Health Columbia Gorge, and Columbia Gorge Community College. Thank you.
Catherine Gardner.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Gardner, pronoun she, her, and I'm a resident of Vancouver. A delightful cross-stitch piece hangs in my child's room and has done so since she was a baby. It displays the maxim, do no harm, but take no... Surely you know how that saying ends. Spouting false statistics and skewed sources does harm. Relabeling and recategorizing books you don't personally agree with does harm. Threats to defund a public institution, such as a library, does harm. Reduction of sex ed does harm. Rollback of DEI policies does harm. Weaponizing children to forward bigoted ideals does harm. And a library board that continues to allow hateful statements and lies against a specific demographic of our community does harm. And I, for one, am tired of taking it. Thank you.
Gabrielle Gilbert.
Thank you. Liberty, agency, representation. This is what we will fight for. Characteristics of fascism is a power delivered from questioning reality, endorsing myth and rage, and promoting lies. These racist, homophobic, bigots, these fascists attempt to come into these spaces and to play victim to increase sympathy and interest in their cause. They use the tactic of disinformation to minimalize, discriminate, and eliminate a population of people and communities, and they attempt to do harm to our loved ones, our families, our community members. We ally to our community so that that diversity is never allowed to be diminished in any way. These fascists, to gain a footing in our libraries, is unacceptable. and to bring harm to our communities, we will never allow. And we will show up in each and every month to call them out by name: racist, bigots, homophobic, transphobic, fascist. And if they show up a million times, we will show up a million times plus one time more. And we will never, ever cede footing. And we will keep our communities safe from them at all cost. Thank you for your time.
In-person comments begin with Tiffany Hines.
And can you hear me now? Okay, thank you. I've attended 8 library board meetings thus far, and each time I've respectfully listened to testimonies on how libraries were influential in who these individuals became as adults. And that's all wonderful, and I truly mean that. However, these are the very adults who speak of safe places, are the very individuals that have implied I was rude, evil, hateful, bigot, fascist, ignorant, repulsive to the needs and desires to the LGBTQ plus community and others. And this is simply not true. The human race deserves to live in peace, and I do truly believe that. But that doesn't mean I have to harmonize with the way of their way of thinking, nor they mine. With that being said, males dressed up like women reading books to children have no place in a library. And that's what I truly believe. And I hope this Drag Queen Story Hour continues never to happen in this library or any library across this district. Thank you.
Sharon Watt.
Hi, Sharon Watt. I'm the Secretary of the Friends of Woodland. And I want to, say how happy the Friends are that there is actually equipment on the site and construction looks like it's going to start. We, the Friends, have been kind of frustrated at times, not quite knowing what's going on, when things are going to happen. So it's great that things are finally going to happen. You may or may not be aware that there's been a decades-long issue in Woodland about a pool that was never built. And, we got a lot of comparisons. Well, this is going to be like the pool. So yay, there's finally, looks like it's going to start. Thank you.
Randy Schmidt.
Thank you for letting me speak today. And it's nice to see all of you here in person for a while. That's great. So I believe it's time for someone to speak the obvious. Facilitating events for drag queens to interact with children is just absurd. The gaslighting that is coming from the LGBT community in these meetings that drag queens have always been a staple of community is a lie. They are like Hitler's Nazi propagandist, Joseph Goldberg, who stated, if you're going to tell a lie, make it so big that no one would ever doubt that it's true. And that's what they've been doing. The very first Drag Queen Story Hour is documented on Google to start in 2015 in a community in San Francisco by an activist named Michael T. And since then, it has spread like wildfire. If you want to know what their goals are, you go to their website. Recently, they've taken some of those down because they don't want you to know. But in 2021, they listed that one of their primary goals was to groom children, to cause gender dysphoria in children, to cause that in children. Think of that. That is evil. That is harm. That's why we're here. And that's why we're saying we want to make libraries safe for children. So what we're asking is not just that you tell us verbally that you're not going to have a Drag Queen Story Hour anymore, because that doesn't matter. When all of you leave this board and the next board comes, all those decisions are going to be made again by another group of people. We're asking that you develop a policy, and the policy has some teeth. and that the policy states that we're not going to do this so that we enter and invite harm to our children and libraries again. It doesn't stop other communities from doing this on their own. We're asking you not to actively participate in doing so. Thank you.
Quill Onstead.
Hi, my name is Quill Onstead and my pronouns are they, them. I'm here to speak in support of Drag Queen Story Hour as a genderqueer member of the library community. I've watched opponents of Drag Queen Story Hour object to the program from a variety of viewpoints, but there is a common thread. Drag Queen Story Hour is morally questionable, objectionable, if not completely unacceptable within their given religion. I do not doubt the sincerity of their faith. They are more than welcome to live their lives in accordance with their beliefs and raise their children to do the same. But here's the kicker. A person's religion does not prohibit me from anything. It does not prohibit the library. It prohibits them and anyone else who ascribes to their particular religious beliefs, and they need to learn the difference. Drag Queen Story Hour is a vital program that teaches kids about gender identity in an age-appropriate manner. Parents who do not approve of Drag Queen Story Hour do not have to bring their children to any Drag Queen Story Hour programs. Please allow the staff of FVRL libraries to present Drag Queen Story Hour and have the district live up to the ideals espoused in FVRL Library's equity statement. Thank you for your service to the community.
Eunice Ingermanson.
Good evening, board. I'm Eunice Ingermanson from Battleground, and I use she, her pronouns. This better? Yeah. Sorry. Shall I start over? Hey, good evening, board. I'm Eunice Ingermanson from Battleground, and I use she, her pronouns. I appreciate the value of inclusion that this board embraces, the value of listening to and acting upon the perspectives and experiences of people from systematically marginalized groups. The books that you curate help me do that. Toni Morrison's Bluest Eyes and Isabel Wilkinson's Cast does that about the African-American perspectives and experiences. Matthew Vine's God and the Gay Christian does that about queer Christian perspectives. And Barry Lopez's Embrace Fearlessly the Burning World does that about caring for the environment and respecting the indigenous wisdom to do it best. Some of these books are banned in some parts of this country. I'm thankful that this library system doesn't practice censorship. Your website even has a page dedicated to opposing censorship. You make our community safer and build bridges for understanding and reconciliation by offering information from all viewpoints, even if doing so will offend some. The quote, "A truly great library contains something in it to offend everyone." It's so apt. I hope that the readers like us will get very good at taking the offensive books as opportunities to learn something new and put ourselves in someone else's shoes. Thank you.
Chair, that concludes public comment for this evening.
We do still have time in our hour of public comment. If there's anyone who did not speak and wishes to do so, go ahead. First, please just say your name when you come to the microphone.
Thank you, board members. Gary Wilson. I just want to say one thing tonight, as you're determining the next library executive director, I hope you pick the candidate that will stand up for and protect the most vulnerable patrons among us in the library. That would be the children. Thank you.
Hello, I am from Goldendale. My name is Sarah Wu. I understand the attack that you have been under and I want to give my support. I was really shocked today. I went to the library and I got a pink slip. But it wasn't a pink slip to leave. It was a pink slip to say, oh, this particular item has been banned, or there's been questions about its validity. What more could I ask for? It warned me I can make my choice. I am adult. I am a mother, a carer of my children and my grandchildren. All I need to know is what I want. And I do believe in having everything available. And I appreciate having the notice that some people may not agree with me. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? Any online? Oh, go ahead.
My name is June. I hadn't planned on speaking tonight. I was just going to come and listen. But I have worked at libraries in Missouri. And what the people do in their own homes is not my concern. But when they bring it into the public agenda, where there's only a 3% population, we don't need this grooming of our children, our boys or girls. And I stand against it. And I was just listening to a rabbi speak this week, and he said, every nation that has allowed immorality like this into their country has fallen in the past. So just think of that. And we love America, and we want to keep things where our children are protected. Like I said, what they do in their own home, it's none of my business, but what they do in the public is a concern for many citizens in the US. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or anyone online who's asking to speak? Okay. Yep. I have a question. Can you talk about what the pink slip for books is that she mentioned? Do you know what that is? Okay.
Hi, I'm Ruth Schaefer. I'm the Public Services Director, so I'm going to answer your question about the pink slip in the books. We decided this year when we were celebrating Banned Book Week, which is the week that we just acknowledged that all voices have a place. Instead of putting up displays, which we normally do, we chose to put a bookmark into books that have been written by authors who have been challenged or banned. There's a big difference between a challenge and a ban, but these books have been identified as authors who have been banned across the country over time. The book itself may not have been the book, but it was the author that we were pointing out. So that's what she got when she got a pink slip. It was a book written by someone who had been challenged or banned across the country at some point.
So can you explain the difference between challenged and banned for us?
Sure. A book challenge is everybody's right. They have the right to bring to the attention of any library, and FVRL libraries is no different. They have the right to bring to our attention material that they think is either inappropriate for our collection or miscatalogued in our collection. And we have a very specific review process for these books that have been brought to us. There's a written challenge, and then we review them and we respond in writing on what we're going to do. And sometimes we have moved books from the children's department to the adult, or young adult to adult. We have also moved books from the adult the adult section down to the children's section when we realized that we've miscatalogued those. But a banned book is something that's actually removed from the collection. And Fort Vancouver Regional Libraries has not removed any books from the collection over the 32 years that I've been here, but we have moved them often. And we appreciate when people bring to our attention books that they think may be inappropriately cataloged or don't fit our collection policy. We have policies that guide what we buy. So we know we have a set of criteria that we put the book up against. Does this book meet those criteria?
I have one last question, and you can say, no, I don't mean to put you on the spot here. We didn't plan to have you come up like this, but Can you tell me why challenged books seem to kind of be lumped in with banned books and kind of people are shamed or whatever word you want to use for the challenge? It feels like they're kind of lumped in as one. Do you know why that is?
I don't know why that is traditionally been done. The first step for getting a book banned or removed from a collection is to challenge it. In order for the library to make a decision on what to do with that book, they have to know that that book is being challenged. So that's just the first step in the process. Most books that are actually banned are banned in schools, not really in public libraries, although it does happen in public libraries, just not this one.
Thank you.
Do some of the books come pre-cataloged?
I believe that we do have a certain set of the collection that comes with its Dewey numbers already, and maybe stickers. But all of our books go through the cataloging process, even things that are bought cataloged, our catalogers will look at it and make sure that it matches our cataloging. There are a couple of different ways things can be cataloged, and we want to make sure it's consistent with what we've done with other books on that same subject. Yes, Olga.
Are there ever any mistakes that are made by staff, or maybe even when you're receiving these books pre-cataloged, that are aside from opinion? Are there ever mistakes made where a book is put in the wrong section? And it's
Sure, mistakes are made. I mean, we're
So-
humans. So
so-
yes, a mistake could be made. And if it's brought to our attention, we have a committee that makes a decision. And we have often moved books from place to place.
So if a patron finds like a World War II book in the cataloged in the cookbook section and brings that to your attention, is that considered a challenge?
No, that's considered a mistake and we just recatalog it.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Well, I have to apologize to everyone because we are in a building that doesn't afford us separate rooms. So now that we've closed public comment, we are going to begin our executive session, and unfortunately, we have to ask everyone to step outside or wait in your car for a 30-minute session. So there's umbrellas and things like that if you'd like one, but the Fort Vancouver Regional Library District Board of Trustees will now meet in executive session to discuss personnel as allowed by RCW 4230-110. The Board of Trustees will be in executive session until 7 p.m. We are expected to take further action following the executive session. Thank you.
Just wondering if my microphone is working now. Can anyone hear me?
Can those online hear me?
We can hear you. Can you hear me, Christy?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, it's 7 o'clock. I call this regular meeting back to order. Thank you all for waiting. Sorry that it had to be outside. I appreciate your patience. Yeah, all right. Next up, we are going to start with our reports. First up is the Center Community Library Branch Report.
It is. Good evening. Thank you, board. My name is Jorinda Swingruber, the branch manager of the La Center branch. So it's my pleasure this evening to give you a report on what the La Center Library has been up to for the past year. For those of you who are new to the board, the La Center Library is housed in a historic building built circa 1908. It was originally the town hospital and has since had many different lives, if you will, until it was eventually slated for a controlled burn. The Call family and many members of the community decided that the building could be put to much better use as a library. So the La Center Friends formed and they began fundraising, and the building was moved to the present site. It originally sat at where the Chevron is currently as you passed coming into town. They put it on a flatbed truck, they moved it down the street, and it now sits on the other side of the park. Plans to renovate and turn the building into a library began, and finally in May of 2004, the building opened its doors and was given new life as a beautiful community library. And now 19 years later, there have been a few renovations. The past year has seen a new roof put on the building, and our original parking lot has been sealed and striped, and we're looking pretty sharp now. Our community, our service community is primarily rural here in North Clark County. And that includes some very picturesque sites, like you might recognize the Cedar Creek Grist Mill, and there's some lovely farm stands selling produce, but we're also a growing community as well. We have a brand new middle school in town, and there are several new subdivisions being built all around the town, as you can see from some of the pictures here. We're definitely growing, and we're seeing a lot of new families in our branch looking for library cards and finding what they need. And to help serve our growing community with the library's mission to strengthen our community through access to knowledge, experiences, and creativity, I have an amazing and wonderful staff. There are 5 of us, so let me introduce you. On the left of the screen at the top, that is Susan Helly, my branch supervisor. And here she is helping one of our young patrons this summer learn how to crochet left-handed. No easy feat if you're not left-handed. So with the help of a library Chromebook and some great YouTube videos, we were able to get her started. And she has now done all sorts of great projects with her crocheting. Next, I have Terry Clohisi, who is our full-time senior library associate here. And she has done some great programming. She single-handedly put together our summer reading kickoff, which was an Alice in Wonderland themed program. She created the gown that she's wearing even as the Queen of Hearts. So we had a great time. She does wonderful programs. And next to her is Lori DeFord, our newest member of staff, who is our part-time senior library associate. And she is pictured doing story times, and she's doing a great job building up some great regular customers for us. And then next I have Donna Olson, who is our part-time public service or library or assistant. And she does often help at the front desk. She's got a great warm smile and great greeting people as they come in. Next, the All right. You have the crazy librarian, crazy branch librarian who likes to wear tie-dye and blinky glasses at any parade going. Actually, this photo was taken at our Twilight Parade this last year that had a Hollywood theme, which we chose to interpret with a literary twist. So that included some great literary greats like Mo Willems' Pigeon, Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus. Fame, and here he is helping me drive the FVRL van. The kids loved it. We had a great time at the parade. Our service area also includes a wonderful independent K through 8th grade school, Green Mountain, out in the hills of North Clark County. It serves 225 students. It used to be a former bookmobile, Clark County bookmobile stop. And when we took service, when we quit the bookmobiles, and then the library staff from the center started doing outreach and visits once a month. We take out story times and books to check out and book talks for the students. That's greatly appreciated. Some of our other outreach, regular outreach, includes monthly story times. We do 3 different local preschools and daycares. And in 2023, our outreach took staff to local farmer markets, elementary school Kindy Cub Night for new families, the center's tree lighting festival, summer reading visits to all the elementary school classes, a rainbow walk, and the center's Our Day celebration and Twilight Parade. Some of the programs, in-house programs that we've been able to offer have included master gardener classes, wool felting workshops, read to the dog sessions for reluctant readers, author nature hikes for families, fabric wreath workshops, and a teen self-defense program, which I'm super proud of. That one was initiated by the teens here in the town. We took a survey out to the local high school and asked them what sort of library programs they would like to come to. And the top of their list was a teen self-defense program. So we partnered with Vancouver Self-Defense and we offered a program for them and we had a really good turnout. So quite proud of that one. Other regular programs include 2 story times a week, 3 book discussions a month, yarn buzz twice a month, genealogy, a writing group, along with some literary book parties such as Magic Treehouse event that celebrates the book series, and our summer reading Alice in Wonderland themed kickoff with plastic flamingos and croquet. And so much of what we do would not be possible without the help of our amazing friends of the Center Library. This fabulous group of volunteers store and schlep around hundreds of boxes of books throughout the year, and they put on book sales and they raise money for some much loved annual programs like our Gingerbread House workshop, our Centerpiece workshop. They've recently added a Harry Potter celebration. They do a Plant a Seed, Grow a Reader where they give out books for free. They also have a Valentine's Day blind date with a book giveaway. And they partner with library staff at a lot of our outreach endeavors, which is much appreciated by staff. So they help us out with farmers markets, town tree lighting celebrations, and the Our Days parade. They're wonderful people who care about libraries, books, and getting those books into the hands of the community, which is part of their mission. So before I conclude, I wanted to leave you with a couple of my favorite photos from 2023 of families using the library and simply enjoying books. So thank you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I had one question. I was going to ask you how much of an increase you're seeing with your outreach programs.
Our programs have increased, especially since COVID. So we're working on getting those numbers back up and our circulation. I don't think our circulation is quite recovered yet, but it's getting there. We are handing out a lot of new cards, new library cards. So I think things are on the upswing, doing quite well. Yeah.
Following that question, I've noticed all the libraries are really focused on young people. What kind of things are you doing for the seniors, especially if they aren't as mobile or in the senior centers and things like that?
Right. We try and do 4 times a year a mobile workshop for e-resources and things like that, setting up ebooks, e-audio materials. I have visited the Meals on Wheels program here. There was a little hiatus while they were remodeling this building, but they usually meet here on Thursdays. So I have come over and done some of that. We also have book discussions that take place at the branch for the most part. But yeah, there's a few offerings out here with our limited staff.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Did you want to go first? Go ahead.
Before I forget, do you still have your 3D?
The 3D printer?
Yes.
Yeah, we do have our 3D printer. And it sits right in the middle. A lot of people to use the machine. So we have seen quite a bit of action for our 3D printer. People are still using those. Yeah.
I'm curious if you have a big homeschool community here and how the library serves them.
We do have quite a few homeschool families, and we try and offer programming for them that would be book discussions, things like that. I think a lot of them are interested in the social aspect of our programming. So they come for a lot of the different things that we have with a lot of other kids. So like book discussions where they can, make new friends and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
And then I'm curious if you have high usage with the floating library collection. Do you guys get a lot of holds and pickups, or are you having more in-person browsing and checking out of those materials?
I think it's a little bit of a combination. I think we have a lot of people that are using the e-resources, so ebooks and e-audio materials. We do have a lot of people putting things on hold. There are different people. I think there's one person in town that does reviews for like children's nonfiction. So they're ordering stacks of books, probably more than we could, have on our shelves, but we do have a great delivery service where that stuff can come in for them and they can pick it up there. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I'm seeing
Okay.
that you serve about the same number of patrons as my little town in Goldendale. And I'm really
Yes.
impressed with what
Very,
you are
very
doing and
similar.
how you're serving your population.
Oh, thank you.
Very well done, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you. If there's no other questions, we'll move into the August financial statements with Atar.
Good evening. Sorry, it's just a bit too low. Good evening. I have the August financials for you tonight. Thank you.
The document, like it's still there, there's just nothing wrong. So we're getting it from a different place and then we're gonna reshare it and then we'll have the document. It has to be a little creative, luckily everything will more than one.
All right. Starting with the statement of cash. At the end of August, year-to-date revenues were $16.6 million and year-to-date expenditures $21 million. Cash balance was at $16.5 million. Statement of revenues, property tax revenue for August totaled $91,000. Year-to-date is at 57% of budget. August leasehold excise tax was $24,000. August state forest boards was $1,013. August charges for services brought in $5,700. Under miscellaneous, August investment interest revenue was $42,000. Total August revenue was $168,000. Year-to-date budget percentage for total operating revenue was 52%, and total revenue was at 49%. Sorry, could you? Yep, thank you. Statement of expenses. At the end of August, we would expect total expenses to be at 66.67% of budget. August personnel costs were $1.4 million, with year-to-date at 63% of budget compared to 60% same time last year. Running lower than budget due to 20 open positions. Supplies and small equipment for the month of August was $201,000, with year-to-date at 47%. August library materials activity was $279,000, with the year-to-date at 52%. Excuse me. Under other services charges, insurance was $214,900 for the month of August, including annual policy renewals. And repair and maintenance was $419,700 due to the annual renewal of the integrated library system at $322,700. Capital outlay had $462,000 of activity in August under operating expenditures, mostly related to the Grand Boulevard OC remodel and move. Total August expenditures were at $3.2 million. Year-to-date budget percentage for total expenditures was at 62%. Questions?
I wanted to make sure when I was looking. Mine's not cooperating. When I'm looking at income rental, what was the extra income rental that were 422% increase? I like it, but I'm just curious about it.
Yes, that's at 422% of budget. Because we were not anticipating renting part of our Washougal property, as Justin just mentioned, excuse me, to rent. We're renting it to Walsh Construction, I believe. So they're using part of Washougal as a staging area.
Oh yeah, their parking lot.
I think so.
Okay. My other question was, I'm assuming that the foundation reimbursement being so low that's because the grant just got approved and it's not showing up on here as approved?
Yes. Originally, I think the expectation was that Woodland would start in 2023, early to mid 2023, and that we would therefore be seeing those reimbursements. But it's just starting now is my understanding, so.
State forest boards, is this just a slow transfer of funds from the state, or are your forest funds dragging? I mean, timber is up right now, so that's surprising me.
State forest boards, let's see, it's the county's share of the state timber revenue. And sorry, I don't have a definitive answer, but sometimes it'll come in at certain times of the year.
Yeah.
It's not sometime from what I've seen, it might trickle in and then show up all at once towards the end of the year.
We are at the end of the year.
Yes. Yes, but not quite.
This statement ends in August, right? So there may even be an update now because we're in October.
Yes, after August, I will have, 4 more financial reports for the fiscal year. So.
Other questions?
Yeah, so the add back expenditure incurred but unpaid. So are there any expenses that we don't pay that may incur a penalty? Does that ever happen?
As related to this figure or generally?
This figure or in general, you can tell me.
Generally, we need to pay our bills on time, in order to avoid avoid penalties. The one that comes to mind is, the Kaiser bill. We make sure we try to pay that on time every month. That's a fairly large bill.
So would there be any bills that are unpaid beyond 90 days, or are there any special circumstances where those things happen?
Yes.
Vikram? Yes, I sent the foundation or the finance committee some reports, and we'll be looking into the ones that are 90 days due. There are multiple reasons, from what I understand, why sometimes bills aren't paid exactly on time. One of the primary reasons, the way I understand it, is that we are waiting for, say we place a bulk order with one vendor. They bill for everything at once, but we wait to pay until all of the items have been received. So yes, there are sometimes occasions where things go to 90 days or beyond.
Okay, but there is never a case where we have not paid and there has been some penalty imposed because of those unpaid bills.
I can't say for 100% certitude there, but not in the time that I've been interim.
Can you answer that, Atar? You've been longer.
So I will say that if we do incur fees and penalties if for certain kinds of payables, if and when they're paid late. So that has been the case, to answer your question.
Okay, can you provide details of that maybe later to the finance committee?
Yes, I can work with Justin to provide.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I think we're wanting to just get clarification on not the ones that we're like strategically delaying, like the bulk, but just information on any of like the oopsies that we missed a payment and then got a fine, just to kind of catch us up to it, where some of us are new and still learning how we're doing with all that. So
Olga, I would be happy to provide the information you want at the next finance committee meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I would entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second. Oh,
Thank you. Any discussion?
I would just say, since the expenditure approval is part of the consent agenda, that I reviewed the financial statements and bills this month, and everything was in order.
Thank you. I move this to a vote, please.
Marianne Duncan Cole,
A.
Penny Love Hensley,
Aye.
Vikram Katwani,
Aye.
Megan Dugan,
We can't hear you.
I vote aye.
thank you. Marie Coffey,
Aye.
Olga Hodges,
aye.
and Chrissy Morgan.
Aye. The motion passes. We're going to move on to the business portion of our meeting. First will be the first reading of the 2023 budget amendment.
So the first two items, the 23 budget amendment and the 24 draft budget, are information for now. So every year we are required to amend the annual budget to reflect any unanticipated revenue. In 23, we had two sources of unanticipated revenue. One was the $61,000 PEG grant, which is the City of Vancouver's public education and government grant that they received from the federal government. And that is provided to us for our housing of the Clark County the CCTV equipment at the Vancouver location. Another area of unanticipated revenues was with the investment interest of $250,000. Changes to expenses, we reflect those in the budget amendment, and they are going to be this year. We're amending the buildings owned line from $5,500,000 down to $3,311,000 to offset spending from the reserves for the OC building remodel and expenses that we expect to incur in 2023 with the Woodland project going forward. They're breaking ground this week.
Is this earlier than anticipated?
What, the Woodland project? It's a little bit later than anticipated. So no action at this time. This is just the first sharing of this information.
Questions? We'll move on then to the first reading of the 2024 budget, please.
So the 24 budget is based on the premise of us providing excellent customer service throughout all of our physical locations and via our bookmobiles in Clark, Skamania, Klickitat counties, as well as the city of Woodland. This service is going to be achieved through fully staffing our branch libraries and departments. So for 2024, we are anticipating $28,500,000 in property tax revenue across the 4 counties that we serve, which is up about $880,000 from 23. And that is based on 1% levy growth and predicted new construction, as well as continued growth from our investment accounts. It takes into account a predicted decrease in timber revenues, which, again, this is the first reading. It's a draft. So overall, it predicts a 3.19% increase in revenue for 24. Expenses. Thank you. Expenses are generally flat with the exception of the personnel lines and materials, which, as you know, represent the largest portions of our budget. This draft anticipates a 5.4% increase for the personnel costs, which will be impacted by ongoing bargaining with our 2 bargaining units, as well as an overall increase in benefits costs, which was predicted at 4.5% for personnel, 14% for benefits. Those numbers will most likely change between now and next month. The expenses in the library, books and materials, including e-resources, those figures represent about 11% of the overall budget. And currently we're budgeting at a bit of a lower amount than we did in 23 based on this year's purchasing activities. What else was there that changed? Utilities and communications are coming in higher this year than we anticipated, so we're planning on adjusting that number accordingly. And for the buildings owned, we're reducing our expenses in 24 against that line by $2 million in anticipation of the state grant for Woodland. And so $1.5 million is going to be allocated for future capital projects. And so all of this assumes that some of the Woodland work will be budgeted to, will be taken out of 23's budget. I think I hit all of the highlights for the draft.
I do have a few questions. So on page 16, under services, overhead, maintenance, can you describe what's all covered in professional services for me? I can't remember what's all.
So that would be architectural fees, legal, CPA work. It's a huge line and I don't have all the details at hand, but what's that? Oh, yes, the custodial, the maintenance. That's a big piece of that.
Do we pay the state auditor? Is that included that we're starting at? Okay.
And then advertising, is that just like our own advertising department or is that other things too?
That is paying for, say, ads in the Columbian or in Vancouver families, that sort of thing, marketing.
And I think my last question in this area is intergovernmental services inflation allowance. Can you just tell me what that is?
I can't really tell you about the inflation allowance because I don't know what it is. It's a placeholder that was left over
And not used this
and
year.
it's not used.
And so what's the intergovernmental services then?
Intergovernmental services are, I'm sorry, Chair Morgan, I'll have to do some looking to find out.
Totally fine. Thank you. Go ahead, Megan.
Thanks. Justin, I was curious about the personnel increase and it anticipates full staffing. I think you said in your staff report. So how many open positions are there currently?
There are 20 or so open
Okay.
positions.
And so anticipating full staffing in the next budget year means that the library will be doing more recruiting then, more hiring?
Yes,
Okay, thanks.
welcome.
On the page 18, I noticed that library friends groups went from 300,000 to 600,000 and I wondered why.
That would be in anticipation of the Woodland project getting up and moving.
Thank you. Other questions?
I'm curious if we receive feedback from branches about,
I'm sorry.
can you hear me? Sorry. I'm curious if we receive feedback from branches on where they can use more financial support, like with programming, supplies, things like that. Is that something that goes upstream? And then we respond to that? And if so, have we done that here? And can you give us an example?
So these numbers, the expense and the revenue side, these numbers, the revenue may change, but the expense side ideally will not. What you're asking for is when, say a branch identifies a need, like we need to do more programs for this group, or we need
Fix the air conditioner.
we need to fix the air conditioner at our location. Yes, it is reflected here. That is on the administrative team side where we solicit input from the branches in terms of what they need. And then we make the decisions based on, on a collaborative conversation with the locations.
And is there like a specific process for that or a chain of command, or can someone literally, email you and say, hey, we're low on these supplies for this sort of thing? I'm just curious how much,
In the moment, we respond to things like that. Say 2023, somebody emails or puts in a supply request because they are out of Post-it notes or whatever. We accommodate that through this current year's budget. For future budgets, we solicit input from the branches months in advance. They give us things like we need a new air conditioner or we need a new bubble machine for story times. So we gather all of that information We discuss it as an administrative team, make decisions based on what we think we can accommodate, knowing that we have increased expenses in certain areas that we have to account for. And then communicate back to the branches. These requests were approved. These were not.
Would you say that you're getting feedback from most branches and that we are delivering where we can?
Absolutely. We get feedback from all of the branches every year, as well as from, say, the more centralized divisions, right? Like, so the Outreach and Community Partnerships Division, they have their own budget request process.
Very good. I'm happy to hear that. Thank you.
I have a question here. Hey, Justin. So this increase of 4.5% in the wages, that is for the fully staffed, all the positions, right?
That is assuming fully staffed and with wage increases having been bargained by WPEA and AFSCME.
Okay, so some of these positions have been open for more than a year.
Yes.
Has anybody done a strategic review of whether these positions are still required or they
Yes.
might be, like given to some different branches for different purposes?
Yes, we've been discussing that in our administrative budget meetings. Like helping to make those decisions. So say, for example, at Vancouver or one of the larger branches, we have 5, I'm just examples,
Right.
5 senior library assistant positions open. Working with branch staff, branch management, we make a decision whether, okay, we will hire 3 of these senior library assistants. We'll fill the other 2 positions with a mix of part-time. So yes, each position is looked at and evaluated.
All right, thank you.
Have you had to incur some overtime to fill the gaps in terms of service in that?
Yes.
Okay. So some of that's in there as well. Okay.
Hearing no other questions, we can move on to resolution 2023-19, graphics printer and laminator. Justin?
As part of the closeout of our old operations center, there are pieces of equipment that we need to deal with that have outlived their useful life. 2 of these items are a large format printer. It has been decommissioned. It's very old. It's been decommissioned because the software that is necessary to operate it is no longer supported or provided by the manufacturer. We've gotten every penny out of that piece of equipment. The other one is a industrial size laminator that is at 16 years old, past its useful life. Our IT manager has been looking at comparable products and what they sell for, and has not been able to find much, if anything. So it is estimated that in its current condition, we may be able to sell it for around $2,000, but that is not guaranteed. So staff recommendation is to approve resolution 23-19 to designate both of these items as surplus. So we can then dispense with them.
Is there a motion to approve resolution 2023-19 surplus graphics printer and laminator?
Can I ask a quick question on that?
Of course, go ahead.
Is that laminator still useful?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Thank you.
It is very old, and it has seen a decade plus of use laminating posters for book returns, program posters, that sort of thing.
Okay, so it's not operational at this point.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
Megan, did you have a question?
I said I second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
I wanted to ask if this list that we have here, that includes other things to be surplus?
Yes, but we've not decided yet whether or
Okay.
not to bring.
Thank you. I move this to a vote, please.
Megan Dugan,
Aye.
Vikram Katwani,
Aye.
Marie Copy,
Aye.
Olga Hodges,
Aye.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole,
Aye.
Penny Love Hensley,
Aye.
and Christy Morgan.
Aye. Motion passes. Next, we will move on with Personnel Committee. We'll begin with Olga.
Hi, everybody. Port Vancouver Personnel Committee conducted a search with HR for recruiting firms earlier in the year, and we settled with a group called SGR, which is a reputable recruitment company within the library world. Together with HR, the Personnel Committee decided to run a very similar recruiting and interview process to the one we previously conducted in 2015. SGR conducted a nationwide search. The candidate pool came out to 16 people. The Personnel Committee selected 9 semifinalists, and ultimately we had, we had 9 finalists, and then ultimately had 3 semifinalists. 9 semifinalists, 3 finalists. We conducted virtual interviews and received a substantial amount of materials to review and get to know each candidate. SGR provided us a lot of fantastic details. They did media searches, everything that we could have probably asked for. We settled on 3 and lost 1 candidate in the final stages. Last week, the week of October 10th, we had a candidate that was here already in town, and 1 flew in, and both got to attend in-person interviews. There were meet and greets with staff and patrons, and there was good amount of interaction, as much as we could facilitate in a short amount of time, with staff and public. The finalists toured our libraries, and this was a packed and busy process, but like I said, many patrons, staff members, and all board members had exposure, both in person and virtually. So after much deliberation and consideration and reviewing the staff and public patron feedback forms and surveys, the Personnel Committee is ready to recommend the executive director nomination, which is going to be Jennifer Giltrop. Okay. I want to thank the fellow trustees, the staff. I want to especially thank Lee from HR for putting together so much on this end. Rhonda from admin for pulling together a lot of details. Lynn from SGR for her dedication and commitment to this process with such a new board. We've all learned a lot. And yes, it was a quick process, but it was thorough and very busy for all of us involved. And we really look forward to this new chapter together. So I would like to make a motion to name Jennifer Giltrop as the next executive director. And do I state out loud? Okay, I make a motion to approve resolution 2023-20, resolution of the Fort Vancouver Regional Library District Board of Trustees selecting a candidate as the new executive director. Thank you, everybody.
Is there a second?
I seconded.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I move this to a roll call vote, please. Can we move this to a roll call vote, please?
Mary Ann Duncan Cole,
A.
Penny Love Hensley,
Aye.
Vikram Katwani,
Aye.
Megan Dugan,
We can't hear you,
Aye.
Megan.
I'm sorry, I vote aye. Can anyone hear me?
Marie Coffey,
Aye.
Olga Hodges,
Aye.
and Christy Morgan.
Aye. The motion passes. Our final action item for today is Resolution 2023-21, authority to negotiate contract for executive director. This just gives the negotiating power to the board and lets us move forward with the hiring process. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2023-21, resolution of the Fort Vancouver Regional Library District Board of Trustees regarding authority to negotiate contract for executive director?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I move this to a roll call vote, please.
Mary Ann Duncan Cole,
Aye.
Penny Love Hensley,
Aye.
Vikram Katwani,
Aye.
Megan Dugan,
Aye.
Marie Coffey,
Aye.
Olga Hodges,
Aye.
and Christy Morgan.
Aye, the motion passes. Finally, we'll move on to board comments. I want to start off by thanking Justin for stepping up as interim executive director. You stepped into a challenging position and helped us navigate through the last 2.5 months. So I wanted to thank you. Any other comments?
Justin, this was a hard decision. Thank you so much for everything that you've done the last 11 weeks now. And I've been able to learn a lot more in the last 11 weeks than, previous times. Thank you for your amazing communication skills. Thank you for your passion and your care for Fort Vancouver and the people here. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Justin.
I'm not sure if anyone can hear me. I also would just like to offer a heartfelt appreciation to Justin Keeler and Ruth Schaefer and many other library staff that stepped up to lead during this interim period. I know how difficult that was, and I appreciate you all. And tomorrow night, I'll be at the Hilton in Vancouver at the 2023 Foundation dinner and auction, and David Baldacci is the keynote, and I hope to see some of you there. Should be a fun night supporting the library district.
Any further comment? The next regular meeting will be Monday, November 20th, 2023, hybrid and in person at Woodland Community Library. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? Oh, okay, go ahead.
Justin, I wanted to express my appreciation for coming in, stepping into this. It's been a tough weeks for you, and we appreciate all of your effort and yeah.
Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved. Seconded.
Seeing no objections, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.